once again, this time my friends for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found, I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show. Yeehaw!
And yeehaw! This is Dave, your host, the Southern Fried Podcast. I remember that show. We decided to come on tonight and do a little reminiscing. You can see the background there. And yes, that is a very old and not using, I'm sure, anymore, drive-in movie theater. So this program is dedicated to looking back at things we remember. Not that they're not still around. We're going to talk about that. We definitely have drive-in movie theaters that are around the country. It sort of came had a resurgence at one time a few years ago. Not that they ever all went away, but there were very few left. And so, you know, it's something that a lot of people haven't experienced in this day and time, or they did it just as a bucket list kind of thing to say, I went to a drive-in movie theater. I don't know if the one nearby to here is still open or not. I say nearby, it's, you know, good time away, but not that bad. But I know there are some around the country, and there's some better than others, obviously. Well, what's your memories of I remember that as far as driving movie theaters? Well, you know, they became very popular at one time. I mean, during the 50s, 60s, they really started exploding. And at one time, there were 4,000 or more drive-in movie theaters around the country. I remember going to them as a young child, and we're going to talk about that and kind of talk about some of the things that you, even if you go today or you went then, that you'd want to have a good experience, you'd want to remember. And I was thinking about the times that I went and what what we did as far as kids and stuff. My mom liked, and my aunt, they'd like to get out and go around, and we would go places and see things, and nothing that was any real money because nobody had any money, but we would go and experience different things. Things like you just go to a lake or a beach or a playground area, or whatever it was. You could do those things, not cost too much money. Maybe not for me a beach, but we did go, obviously. But around town, there were places you could go. There were little places you could pull up and get a burger. It was very cheap. But one of the things we did was go to drive-in movie theaters. And so that, I don't know what they would cost today. I honestly have not checked in a long time, but they were reasonable. And so there are some pluses about that versus a regular theater, you will know. And, there's some drawbacks too. I guess there's that with anything, but as long as you don't run into, people that are those kind of people, and you could run into that anywhere, they're a lot of fun. If you like going to movies, some people don't go. Obviously, it's getting hard to find good movies anymore. Family type movies where we could go, and that's what they were looking for kids. And whether it's a Finding Nemo or whatever it is, you would go and pack the family up and go down to the drive-in movie theater, and it was a big thrill for me as a kid. To go, you're getting to go somewhere anyway. So you're getting to see a movie and just that experience. You don't have to, when you go in a movie theater, there's a lot of restrictions there. Restrictions on, you're kind of crammed in there. You're trying not to disturb anybody. If you got to get up and go get something to drink, or you want to go to the restroom or whatever. I try to get to those early. I go on nights where there's not many. If I've went and taken the kids to see kids movie or a family movie, we go on a night it's not real crowded. We make sure that honestly, the last time we went, we were the only ones in the theater, so we had the whole thing. But to go in, it be packed and people talking and not paying attention. And I know people go there to flirt and whatever, that teenage type thing or whatever, young people. But it can be annoying if you're really trying to watch a movie, and or you have somebody and you can hear them. They've seen the movie and they're telling you telling somebody and you hear them, everything is fixing to happen. It just ruins the experience, right? And there's probably 100 other things that I'm not mentioning, but I don't want to focus on that. And I still have done that. I've went to the movie theater, and it's challenging to find, but good wholesome family movies. But there are some movie producers out there which are doing that. There are some faith-based, family-based movie producers of all different size, and even for on small budgets, have produced some wonderful scripts, wonderful movies that had good clean messaging in it, something that would move you emotionally, and you would come out you really felt like you went through a fun experience or something that really made you think about it from different emotions, and you left and you said that was a good movie. Okay, so you go to the drive-in movie theater, and I went as a kid. I also went as a young person before they closed the very local one down that I went to. There was it went quite a bit, and especially when I was a kid, I went more as a kid than I ever did as a young adult, teenager, whatever, old enough to drive. I didn't really go that much then. But as a kid, we went a lot. And I can remember me and a cousin, and it'd be my mom and her mom, and they were sisters, and we would go to the movie theater and then sometimes other places. But so you go to the drive-in movie theater. One, it's not that expensive. I don't remember what the cost was, but it wasn't expensive. Now, you had to have some. We're talking back in the days where there were no debit cards, or probably not. Probably was credit cards, but we didn't have that. And so you would go. You'd have to have some cash. The good thing is, in a car you can pack a lot of snacks. There was still something fun about going up to the snack bar or whatever and getting a fresh drink or candy or something. I mean, I know we did that too, because I can remember going up there, walking with someone, an adult, and doing that. Popcorn. If I go to a movie now, I want the popcorn. It's even though it's ridiculously expensive, I want to go get the popcorn, and I really like that. So some people say, "Oh, I don't do none of that. I just save the money." Well, it's part of the experience. So, but anyway, you go to the drive-in movie theater, and you could have your snacks, and so there's a few things about it. One is you'd want to go when it's decent weather, preferably early spring or fall. Nobody wants to go because it's hot. You could turn the car on, but then that's going to disturb people. You want the car off, so your windows down, or just up enough where you can have those speaker box in there and you can hear. So you want it to be good weather. Now, in saying that, hopefully you don't get in the time where the mosquitoes are real bad, because that could be a problem too. So you might have to take some repellent of some kind. I don't remember us doing that. I think we just went during times when it was cool, which was nice, because what our parents did was they dressed us. We just went in pajamas, and we took blankets and pillows and stuff. And a lot of times, because we had a bedtime, even though we were out, it was hard to get to sleep. 2 features, though. That's a good thing about a drive-in theater, is you have the 2 features. And what we would do, they would say, okay, you can watch the first one, and that's when you got to get into all the snacks and you're having a good time. And then the second feature, and usually they would fix it so it was they would plan it so it was something we probably wouldn't be interested in anyway that much, and we would go to sleep. And it was like a camp out. I mean, you just enjoyed that. You go to the theater, and it's like being falling asleep in the living room or something. You're listening to the TV, but you're listening to a movie, and of course it's dark. The movie theater has light coming off, or not the theater, excuse me, but the screen has lights coming off of it. But it's dark, pretty dark in the car. And if they turned the speaker box down where it wasn't real loud, it was pretty easy to go sleep. Because we're kids, we had bedtimes, curfew times, and so it was after a certain point you were tired anyway. So go into the right time of year. I think that's important. Take all the stuff you need to be comfortable, and go early. You want to get a good spot. I was saying you have to be. I mean, it's a big screen. It's not like you have to be right up on it. But like I was reading, and bigger vehicles were recommended to be in back because they didn't want to block people. Of course, you always had that little thing you would pull up on. Your car was sort of facing up to look more at the screen, and you pull it beside the metal bar or post, excuse me, and you would be able to take that speaker off of there. And I wonder how many of those got pulled off or broke the window. People forgot about them. But you put that there, and you had your own sound right there in the car. And you watched the movie, and you were comfortable. A couple of negatives would be, and we'll come back to positives in a minute, but a couple of negatives would be if you got to go to the bathroom. Then you do have to get up, and you have to go to they always had the little, I call it a snack bar, whatever they called it, but it was a place where that you could buy things. They had restrooms. And if it was really crowded, if you were having to walk through a lot of cars, at a certain age, I guess you could go do that. But we always had adults with us. But walking through, sometimes you pass by people that were just not, they were not nice. They were drinking, and these would be big drawbacks for a family. Anyway, you're going by cars, and they're hollering and they're saying things, and then you may be overhearing things that you shouldn't hear. I think the parents really tried to steer us through away from that. I could tell it was because we didn't go in a straight line. It was, they were looking out ahead, listening, and making sure that we were staying away from that. So we didn't hear that a lot, but we did hear it sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And so that was a little bit of a negative there. And along with that, if you were parked, if somebody come up and parked beside you, like you got there, and there's these spaces on either side of you, all around really, just if they were close. And they were the rowdy bunch. Then you couldn't hear as good. They were distracting. You might even be a little bit of fear of how they were going to do. And I'm sure they had security at those places of some kind, but it wasn't a lot. I don't remember a lot of security, so it was sort of self-regulating, meaning the people, which led to fights sometimes. I'm sure the police got called. I don't remember seeing a lot, but I did a little bit. But they would be the people that would come there just to, kick their heels up, as we say, in a bad way. And the later it got, the worse that would get. I think that's another reason they want us to go to sleep. And the second feature sometimes could be a little more not bad, but not as kid friendly, depending on. So that was times we just go to sleep. And they might not even stay for the whole second feature. If they didn't know the movie, they started watching, I don't like this. And we just go home. So those were, kind of negatives with that. But, positive, you're not crammed in a movie theater. You're able to relax, really have family time. You really didn't sit there and just watch the movie. You talked to each other, the boring part of the movie or something. You didn't care about that part. You were talking to each other. You were spending time together. There's nobody else in your car. You don't have to worry about somebody kicking your seat or spilling a drink or whatever, unless as a kid did it, but talking loud, just different things that would happen, sticky floors, maybe, uncomfortable seats. Sometimes those seats are not the best, not much room. They pack as many in there as they can, and it's not that comfortable. So, but you had room, and if you had if you had a truck, you could pull that backwards up in there, and you had the whole bed of the truck to, you could bring lawn chairs even. In fact, some people do that. They would sit out around their car and just enjoy sitting in the chairs, watching the movie or just talking. It was kind of a hangout kind of thing, where you're in the great outdoors, and it's really a community type event. You met people, you met really nice people. Occasionally you'd meet those other type, but that's anywhere, right? But it was a sense of community, and you were all out there, under the stars, and it was a lot of fun. It's like a big campground, like I said, for 4 hours. The movie started, you basically waited until dark or right at dark before they start the first one. So you got to plan on a late night if you're going to watch both movies. So hence being prepared for the kids and everything, because you get home really late, later than you would normally. unless you had went to the lake or something. Sometimes you stay real late then, but you would leave the movie theater late. Of course, we'd be just asleep, and they'd carry us in or wake us up to go on to bed. But those were a lot of fun. I remember watching. Sadly, I can't remember the movies now, but I remember there were movies, cartoons and stuff, or just good family entertainment. Sometimes it'd be action, where kids are, in trouble and they're almost, going to fall into something or running from something. And well, they had you on the edge of your seat, so to speak. As a kid, it's amazing, the big screen, and you had the box there, and it was just fascinating. And, like over time, things change. And now look where we're at. I mean, I'm glad they're still there. I'm thankful because I don't want to lose that. Like I said, like the title of the show, I remember that. And I would hope people have the experience of being able to go up and enjoy that experience as a family. Because nowadays, everybody's on their phone. They watch on their iPad or their phone or whatever it is. People got their earbuds in, and they're not. This was nothing like that. This was family time. With me, my dad was usually working. So he worked second a lot, and then sometimes he worked third with another job. So I don't remember him going. He may have a couple of times, but I remember mainly it was my mom and her sister and cousin, and we just went, and it was fun. And I don't remember it being anything other than it was something we did, once a month, maybe sometimes twice a month. It was a good, fun thing to do. And it didn't require a lot of money. Money was tight of course, I was really growing up when I have memories of this. It was in the early 70s. And and sometimes we just went and visited a burger. There were places you could kind of hang out and watch the cars that were really souped up and fixed up and everything. They were sort of like a parade of cars. There was a couple of places we went. And of course, then we got a little hamburger and fries and a drink, and same kind of thing. Pajamas on, sitting in the back, get sleepy. And it was just kind of a hangout spot, and, just a place, because there wasn't a lot to do, honestly, in those days. And so, hey, there's always been the cruising type places, right, where it was either a certain road or a certain area. Kids are always looking for that, and even as young adults. And they were still young because my mom would have still been in her 20s. And so they were still just looking to go and get out of the house and have some fun with the kids. And I'm thankful they didn't, send us somewhere to babysit or whatever. We went together. We went as a family, and we went out and we had fun. And I got to see some really nice cars that were fixed up, and just some of the greatest people. And everybody looked out for everybody, especially the kids. Most of the people, everybody knew everybody. That's what I mean. It's a sense of community. But if somebody came in and they were out of bounds, the community of folks, they took care of them, and they wouldn't let nothing happen to anybody. So you didn't really think about danger or trouble. There was a couple of times where things happened, but like I said, it was took care of. And isn't it amazing how that's changed? I can remember my mom, because again, you go into the restroom, I can remember her letting me go and just getting the thrill of sitting in a car that was just shaking, rocking, and it'd rev it up a few times for me. And they'd just, I could have walked into nothing but just the experience of being in the car, take me up to the bathroom. I get to use the bathroom and come back. I thought that was big stuff. And they may or may not even knew them. Because that was just the type of environment it was, of community, where they just self-regulated and self-policed all that stuff. And I never felt fear. I always felt protected, loved, and included, all those things. And that's why my childhood was really great. The family dynamic of doing things together as a family and going places and spending time with doing fun things, and not, always going to babysitter. There were a couple of times we did where they went out and did more adult stuff, whatever, that maybe the movies were a little bit more than beyond it. Couples date, not dating, but like two couples, they decide to go out and have some fun as adults. That happens. Kids are going to be left with babysitters. And I remember that a handful of times, not much, really very few, really only 2 or 3 times that I can remember. And that was when I was really little. Once I got up of an age, I was always with them. I can only think of one time, maybe after the age of 7 or 8, that happened. We was always doing things together, whether it was going to the lake, going to the burger joint, going to the drive-in movie theater. We did things like just going down and looking through window shopping, true window shopping. People don't know what that is today. They go shopping. I'm saying people remember that, but a lot of young people today, window shopping. We didn't have no money, but you go in your window shop, and all the shops had these nice windows, and they had displays, and it was kind of like window dreaming. You'd go and you'd see something. Oh, look at that! I wish I'd like to have that one day. Or it was things you could do for free, maybe a little bit of gas, but gas was cheap, and for just $4 or $5 probably, we had a ball, and sometimes less than that. Sometimes there's no money, and I have great memories. So when we think of this show, we think of I Remember That. We're going to be exploring things like that. We did one of the shows we looked at. It's been a little bit. We've trying to get back around to all these that we like, building up things, and we've gotten busy in a lot of the working on different things about the podcast. But I want to get back to shows like this that we haven't done in a bit, because they are in the programming, and we're going to do them. But what things that we remember, and they don't have to be really old. They could be things. Nowadays, things change so quick. It could be 3 years old. But I remember that. And, those experiences, they typically won't be very long programs, but they will be something to just reminisce about. And we may do some live. I'm recording this. So when you see this, I'm recording it. But I'd love for you to drop us an email. And I forgot to put up my banner. I had it here somewhere. I don't even know if I made it up. Maybe I didn't. But southernfriedpodcast@yahoo.com. Drop us a line and let us know what you remember about driving movie theaters. And if you've been to one in the last few years, because they have dwindled. I mean, they almost went away, but there were always some that were still there. And there are lists that you can look at of the 10 best or 12 best or whatever it is driving movie theaters around the country. And I would think that those that are around real beautiful scenery, because honestly, a drive-in movie theater in itself is nothing to look at. I mean, it's gravel and metal poles and a big screen. You got to have a wide open space, but you do have the sky, and that's pretty. But I can imagine if you're in a place where there was a lot of boulders and outcroppings and stuff like that, that would be a great experience. And of course, they could dress it up with some lights or something, but you really don't want a lot of light. I just mean like colored lights or something. Because part of the joy of being out like that was to look up into the heavens and look at the stars and, just see all of God's creation. And again, just to get out of the house, just to go do something that was fun, very reasonable. It may not be today, but it was for us, and community, family, just great memories of that. And, I know there were things that went on at movie theater or drive-in movie theaters and movie theaters that shouldn't, but that's, there's just some people going to do those things. And, but we were kept away from it. And, I mean, every once in a while you hear something or see something that, you're like, they're drinking or whatever, but that was very minimal, to be honest. And there were, like I said, community that would move people like that out of the way so they wouldn't bother everybody. You always had the person that think they could start, crank up their car and their stereo, and people have to tell them, hey, you can't do that. It's too loud. We can't hear. It's disturbing. And usually people like that left. I mean, they paid the money to come in just to leave within a few minutes because all they really want to do is just come in and show off. But again, I just think because it wasn't just one demographic of people, it was different age groups, families, singles, yes, people dating, yes, but it was all different types of people. And so because it was family oriented, at least when I went, nobody let anything bad happen because it was family, and they were, people were not going to let that be around their their wives, girlfriends, little sisters, kids, nieces, nephews, whatever. They weren't going to allow that to happen. And so I still remember that scene. It's great. It's in the, what was that, the 80s when the movie Twister came out. And I love that one of the scenes they included was the drive-in movie theater. I hate what happened, and Lord knows I didn't see nothing like that happen when when we went. I can imagine a major Twister coming through. But I love that they included that. And when I went to Universal Studios, this is, of course, a long time ago. That movie came out a long time ago. And we were at Universal Studios. Oh, it was the year 2000. And they had now it was inside, but they recreated a little bit of a Twister type effect with a movie set. And that was fun. But I just think that was cool that they included that. Of course, I know they were looking for things that would be outside, people be outside when the Twisters came, but I'm still glad they included that. Kind of brought back a lot of memories for me as I thought about being at those drive-ins. And I think even on one of them, you see the guy, he's sitting on top of his car, just leaned back against the glass, just again, looking up at the sky, watching the movie. When he's one of the ones that when he sees the Twister, it's coming through the screen. And so that the picture I have in as the background here is kind of, it's sad. There's a little building there. Maybe there's a couple of buildings and the weeds are grown up but that's what happened to a lot of them. They just sit there, rusted out, grown up. And we remember that. We look back and we go, oh, I remember I had some fun times there, places like that. Same with racetracks. Some racetracks are like that. They've just all grown up. Or even old football stadiums. And people go and look at them and they just think, oh, how sad. Yeah. Things changed and there wasn't the money to put into it or whatever it was. And people maybe quit going like they used to. And that's just dollars and cents, supply and demand. But as we get older, we do look back and we think on those kinds of things. I remember that. We'll be doing some more things like this. I remember that. So I'll have to ask my crew, co-host, and all what they remember about driving movie theaters. Couldn't be here with us tonight. Typically, tonight is kind of an off night for us, but decided to come on and do a little work. And then I thought, I'm going to go on and do a program or two, some things that I normally do. And I thought, I remember that in a while. I remembered that. So we're going to keep this kind of short. But some of the best things, and plan ahead. If you know of one, plan ahead and make it a fun experience for the family. Take the family, and the kids won't never forget that. And it's better than having them crammed up. I mean, unless it's bad weather or really cold, then I guess that's the best option. But we're fixing to get in the fall, and if you know of a drive-in movie theater within range of you and your family, maybe you already go. But if you haven't been in a long time or ever have been, at least go once and just have some fun with that. Let the kids just, like I say, it's like a camp out. They got all the covers and the pillows and back in my day, we owned the back seat. We that was the adults would sit in the front and we just the whole back seat was, of course, these were, those cars had a lot of room in them back then, so we had a lot of room, and in some cases certain cars you could even lay the seat down and really make like a bed there, and we'd sit up and watch some of the movie, then we'd play and talk. And also you could take games. That was another thing I didn't mention. You could take games. Some people actually played games dinner, especially kids. They get bored with the movie. It's like, I've watched enough. And kids are like at attention spans. You take games and they could sit in their area and play kids games. And so you had to be prepared for all that in case the movie wasn't what you thought it was going to be. Or the kids just lost interest. It may be a great movie. They just lost interest. You had games that they could do and occupy their time until you could say, oh, it's time to go to bed. Or they just got sleepy and went to bed. A lot of times that's what happened. Nobody had to tell us. We just got tired. You're going to school and it's Friday night or something and or Saturday night. That's usually the nights we went. And you're used to getting up early for school. It didn't take much to put you out, especially being out and it's dark and, you just get tired. So kind of took care of itself as a great way to get the kids, kind of a wound down for the weekend. You take them to the drive-in, watch a couple of features. They're asleep, go home, put them in bed. And then you had a great family time. So I remember that. What do you remember about him? Send us a line again. We're going to ask what I can do the next one. Maybe we'll be live. We'll see, and we'll talk about that. Hey, take care. We'll be back. Which like to provide different kinds of programming, and this is one that I think is a lot of fun for me because I'm getting older and I remember a lot more things if I haven't forgotten them. So thank you for supporting the Southern Fried Podcast. We appreciate all of our new followers and those who are liking and sharing and subscribing and whatever it is that you do on the different streams. Like I said, we're now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Of course, we're on Facebook, YouTube, X, Rumble for all the major programming, and Parler, Truth, Getter. And then we're on a couple, we just do some of the smaller stuff like TikTok and Clapper. And it seems like I'm forgetting one. I probably am. There's just so many different ones. We're working on a couple others. We're having some issues. We're trying to work on those, but we're easy to be found. And we thank you for staying with us, and we hope that we're doing something that you like. Hey, have a good night. God bless, and we'll see you next time, okay? Salute.